The Broncos are headed to Las Vegas for their first game in the division, and they're hoping to hit the jackpot with a win over the Raiders, and we are getting you ready for kickoff. Hello, I am Phil Milani, alongside Sidney Jones and Eric Dalala. Guys, let's start off by talking about the Broncos offense. We saw Russell Wilson and that side of the ball lead a crucial touchdown drive against the 49ers. Saw Russ get out of the pocket a little bit, improvise a little bit. You think we'll see more of that this week against the Raiders?
I think maybe, Phil. Yeah, I think Russell's going to do whatever he needs to do to execute, whether that's staying in the pocket or scrambling around. I really think it's based on what the play gives him. So I can't say if we'll see more or less of that, but I hope so because we know how well Russell is when it comes to scrambling around.
Well, Nathaniel Hackett said that he's never going to limit what Russ can do out there, but it seems like they're still trying to blend what Russ likes to do and what Nathaniel Hackett's offense, what this thing's going to look like.
Yeah, Phil, we've heard a lot this week. This is still a new system. It's new teammates, a new coach, new playbook for Russell Wilson. Nathaniel Hackett said sometimes that comes together really quickly. Sometimes that takes a little bit longer. I do think it's important at some point for Russell to be able to operate within this offense, which, you talk about the scrambling. We still did see him operate in the offense on that last drive. I mean, that back shoulder throw to Courtland Sutton, that was a designed play in the pocket, kind of in the style of this offense. So we saw a little bit of that, but I think for the long-term success of this offense, they've got to be able to play within the scheme, play on schedule, and then if things break down, that's when you go to Russell's ability to kind of run around and make things happen.
Yeah, Hackett said that when it breaks down, that's still part of the plan. That's still part of this offense, but something's got to improve a little bit here because the Broncos just averaging 14.3 points per game. That's second worst in the NFL. So something's going to have to improve. Maybe somebody else other than Courtland Sutton becomes a viable target for us.
Yeah, Phil, I'd love to see Jerry Jeudy get back going again. We saw that beautiful 67-yard touchdown to start the season in Seattle. And then, since then, he's only had 3 catches for 27 yards. And yes, he has been injured with that rib injury, but hopefully he's fully recovered from that now. And we'll see him really take a big step this weekend.
Really close on that one play last week against the 49ers. The DB knocked it away at the very last second. Sutton, though, off to a great start. 8 catches, 97 yards a week ago against the 49ers. What about the ground game, Eric? I thought it was sort of interesting to see Melvin Gordon out there in that crucial 1-yard touchdown play there, not Javonte.
Yeah, I think they trust both these guys in the red zone. That's clear. Tyrone Wheatley, the running backs coach, is managing that workload. They do have a plan for who they want on the field in certain situations. And listen, we know how good Melvin Gordon is in the red zone. He's obviously got to shore up the fumbling problem. A couple of them last week that the Broncos were lucky to get both of them back. But he's really good in the red zone in terms of being able to find that seam. Sounds like Javonte's kind of still working on figuring out how to find the hole, how to get in the end zone. Phil, I will say one thing. I think the running game has a chance to get going this week against the Raiders. They allowed some yards last week to Derrick Henry, and that's important for the Broncos because across the league, we've seen scoring go down. We've seen defenses try to limit those explosive plays, try to limit the moon balls that we know that Russ and this offense want to hit on. So maybe this is a week where Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon can really get going.
That was a good 49ers defense a week ago. So in general, things should improve. And Russell Wilson certainly confident. He says the Broncos are really just this close.
The great part is that we have the work ethic, we have the focus, we have all that, and we're excited. We're excited because with our defense, how elite they're playing, how great they are, how amazing they've been. I can't wait to when we turn it around and how great it's going to be because we could be really unstoppable, and we really believe that, and we're going to be. And it's just you take one day at a time, one moment at a time. You don't look at the whole end journey. You just look at the moment right now, the next play, the next moment.
Time now for topic number 2, and that is the Broncos defense. Number 2 in points allowed, number 3 in yards allowed. This defense is really rolling on all cylinders right now. Sidney, do you think it's even better than you expected?
I think so. I mean, I expected them to be pretty dominant, Phil, and I've been, pleasantly surprised that they have been. 2 guys that I think have surprised me the most are Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory. They've become one of the best pass rush duos in the league. They've been so fun to watch. Both of them together have combined already for 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, so many tackles. I think they'll continue to get better, as the season goes on. I mean, they're 2 guys that can really do it all, and I think Bradley Chubb's going to pop off this weekend going up against the Raiders because he said all week just how much he hates the Raiders, and I know he hasn't sacked Derek Carr yet, so I think he's going to have a really great game.
He had that big interception last year
Yeah.
in Las Vegas. I know that the matchup that everybody's going to be watching is going to be Davante Adams versus Pat Surtain II. Is that something you're looking forward to, Eric?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's good on good, best against best. We don't know if Pat Surtain's going to follow him around the field, but certainly they'll be matched up at times. And it's another really good challenge for Pat Surtain, who's held his own against DK Metcalf, Brandon Cooks, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk these last week. So I think it's just another test for a really good corner who's quickly proving himself among the league's best. And he doesn't have an interception yet. He has just 2 pass breakups, but you look at the advanced stats and you see, okay, he hasn't given up very many yards at all the last couple of weeks. Teams aren't throwing at him. To me, that's a sign of a really dominant corner, and I think teams will be able to recognize kind of toward the end of the year when there's all this voting going on, whether it's the media or players for the Pro Bowl, that Pat Surtain's right up there among the best.
Yeah, it's working. The pass rush is working. The secondary is working. A large part of that credit has to go to Ejiro Evero.
Oh, absolutely, Phil. You know, I've talked to Bradley Chubb and Pat Surtain this week and asked them kind of what's been working so well for this defense. And first thing that came out of their mouths was Coach E. I think they love his scheme. They really like his leadership on this team. And I feel like the guys really rally around him. And, you know, he's able to see those adjustments early on in the games. You know, he talked about this on Thursday that in the second half of games, the defense has only allowed 6 points so far this season. You know, they come out, they see what the offense is giving them, and they adjust going into the second half.
Well, here's Pat Surtain talking about what makes Davante Adams a tough cover.
I just think he's a technician at what he's do. Obviously, he's been experienced. He's seen the ins and outs of the league, but as years go on, you know, he gets better each and every year. So, you know, our game plan is just to minimize him from making those big-time explosive plays. So,
and our final topic on this, ready for kickoff, the Broncos and the Raiders, obviously a historic rivalry here. A little bit of extra juice added with Josh McDaniels now into the fold. Cindy, though, the Raiders not getting off to a great start this season.
Nope, Phil, they haven't won a game yet, but I think this team is better than that record indicates. You know, all of those losses were really close games. You know, those games were determined all by less than 7 points, I believe. I think, you know, with every team that we've seen in this league that has a new head coach, has a new system, it takes some time for, you know, the offense to gel. And we're definitely seeing that with the Raiders. They're able to get the ball down the field, but aren't able to execute really when they're in the red zone. So I think they are struggling, but I think they're a lot better than what that record's going to show. So I think it'll still be a tough matchup.
Yeah, they're going to be hungry this week for sure. And speaking of Josh McDaniels a little bit, Eric, his tenure here ended tumultuously. Do you think Broncos fans still have some animosity toward him?
I think so, and I think you'd be able to see it a little bit more when the Raiders come to Denver later this year. But yeah, I'm sure Broncos fans want to beat Josh McDaniels. But I think inside the building, I don't think that plays much of a factor at all. I mean, none of these guys were here when Josh McDaniels was the coach. The coaching staff doesn't have that connection. You know, even, of course, ownership, the team president, all of that is flipped over as well. And so it's just a different building than when Josh was here as the head coach. But yeah, of course, Broncos fans want to get a win this weekend.
Yeah, and the Broncos-Raiders rivalry really quite isn't where it has been in the past. The Raiders have won 6 out of the last 7 in this matchup. Maybe that's a big reason why Bradley Chubb had this to say earlier this week.
I hate them, to be honest with you. I hate them. It's only a few teams in the league I hate, and they're one of them. Because every time we go there, I feel like it hasn't went in our favor since, I think, 2015 or something like that. It hasn't went in our favor. So it's always a tough game. I always know it's going to be a good matchup. I always know they're going to, I'm not going to say dirty, but they talking stuff. We're talking stuff. You know what I mean? It's going back and forth. So it's not going to be, like I said, a cakewalk. No matter what the record is, we know they're looking at it the same way we are.
Time to wrap up now with our predictions. Sydney?
Phil, I'm going to say 24-14, Broncos get the win. I think the offense is going to click a little bit more this week and find the end zone a couple more times.
Eric?
Yeah, I'll go 24-17. I think it'll be a little bit closer. But I do think the Broncos' run game is going to be able to find some success against this defense. And they'll make enough plays on offense. And this defense is just playing at a really high level right now. I expect that to continue. Broncos push their winning streak to 3.
Okay, and I think the Broncos' offense gets rolling a little bit here. I say 27. I'm not going to go too crazy here, okay? This isn't the Texans.
No.
27, and I'll say the Raiders get to 20. I do think there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. So those are our predictions. We'll see what happens this Sunday. That's going to do it for us. For Eric Dalala and Sidney Jones, I'm Phil Milani. This has been Ready for Kickoff.